Unraveling Hair Loss in Black Women, Business Impacts and Strategies for Restoration. Can I just tell you, I almost didn't have to take any notes for this interview today, for this podcast today. I almost didn't even have to write any questions because I usually show up prepared. But this is how much this topic, this subject is plaguing women and women of color. Okay. I know about it from being behind a chair with my customers. I know about it from dealing with family members and friends. I know about it from coworkers and colleagues, my community, my environment. Hair, I am no stranger to hair loss. I feel like I can just freestyle and talk about hair loss right now. But today, I wanted to be able to do something a little bit special, a little bit different, and that is tie in the topic of hair loss, the urgency, the topic, the epidemic of hair loss, but tie it into how it is impacting us as entrepreneurs, as businesswomen, as side hustlers, okay? Because over the last couple of weeks and months, I've really been focusing in on personal branding, building your business. And it just dawned on me that, you know what, there's a couple of things that get in the way when we try to show up as a personal brand. And something like this could be a huge barrier. Sometimes it's our hair, sometimes it's our skin, sometimes it's our wardrobe, sometimes it's our weight, sometimes it's our whatever, plug in whatever XYZ insecurity, you can plug it in right there. But today, I just want to talk about hair loss, the strategies, but how it's affecting us as women of color and also how it's affecting us as business owners and side hustlers. So today, I have the pleasure of having Nicola, Niki Forbes on the show on the Girl Activate podcast today. And we are doing a natural hair meetup this Saturday, February 3rd. And I think it's already sold out. I think all the seats are sold out the last time I checked, but there is a wait list. So if you want to see if you can get in, that's why I said you got to be a member so you know all these things that's happening. But if you want to take a chance and leave your name on the wait list, there is a link to that wait list in this description under this video. All right. So, welcome to the Girl Activate podcast, where we drop inspirational gems that help you to awaken the greatness within. The Girl Activate podcast is also for the girlies that are looking to level up in life, but also looking to take their business to the next level. That's why I'm so excited about this episode here today. It's very natural to me. It ties into my cosmetology and beauty background. This is why I feel so comfortable and confident with it right now. But I'm also, I'm no hair loss expert. That is not my ministry. All right. That's why I brought my girl Niki on, and she is going to be dropping some inspiration, some strategies and symptoms and diagnosis, and really talking about how we can get to the bottom of hair loss. And of course, we're going to tie in how that affects us as entrepreneurs, business women showing up in the world. So just a little bit about Niki. Nicola has been a licensed professional for over 28 years. She's considered an expert and has traveled nationally and internationally educating her peers. As a trichologist, Niki is able to meet the needs of her clients experiencing hair loss and scalp maladies. She is committed to educating the everyday woman on the health of her hair and her body. She is your natural hair guru and your hair loss MVP. Also, Niki is no stranger to the Girl Activate community. She's actually one of the resident hair experts in the Girl Activate community on Facebook. So welcome back, Niki. Welcome to the Girl Activate podcast.
Thanks for having me, Stacey. Thanks so much for that wonderful introduction. I am so excited to be here because hair loss is the no respect of persons. And so there's so many things that we go through when we experience hair loss. So I'm excited to be here, answer any questions, and share some knowledge because there's so much misinformation out there. And we're buying into things that are really not supporting us when it comes to our hair loss. So I'm so super excited to be here and to be able to share with the group.
And we're excited to have you. We have some questions from our podcast audience that were submitted earlier this week. If you guys want to get your questions answered, make sure when I put that poll in the group, you drop your questions and I answer them live here on the podcast. So, you ready to jump right into it?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right. So, as you know, Girl Activate podcast is for business and it's for life. So, before we jump into these hair loss solutions, I want to hear a little bit about you, where you come from, and how did you get into the hair loss industry?
So I am actually born and raised in Jamaica. So you hear the Jamaican accent sometimes. Um, of course, lived
Not
in New York.
really.
No, not at all. Not at all. So that I can't hide, right? But I've lived in New York for over 30 something years. But being in the beauty business, being behind the chair, and being a progressive, not only stylist but educator in the beauty business, I started to see hair loss behind the chair. Not only did I see hair loss behind the chair, but I experienced it postpartum after having my second child. So I know firsthand what all those things are like because I've experienced it for myself. But as clients started to have more and more, I needed to have the answers because we are the answers for everything, and I needed to have the answers for them. I needed to have solutions for them, and it made me go on a quest to research education. I became a certified trichologist, and I've taken so many different holistic courses because the foundation of trichology is just that, and there's so many layers to it. So I continue to learn, but it really happened because I saw a need,
Mm-hmm.
and my clients are like, fix it. And then I also felt like my clients felt that I was the cause of it, and I knew that I was
You're
doing.
like,
I mean, because honestly, if I'm honest, it's the truth.
yeah.
Because a lot of us are shy away from pinpointing that something that we see on a client's scalp because we feel like we're going to be blamed for it. So if you're coming to me every week, every 2 weeks, I'm taking care of your hair, and I'm doing using all the things, all the great products, all the techniques and get gadgets that I can ever find, and I'm still having an issue, then it's got to be more to it than that. So that it called me. In bottom line, it called me
Yeah.
because that's what I was seeing behind the chair.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I could relate to what you're saying. That's part of the reason I went natural in the first place. When in early 2000s, I thought it was just you were always a natural girly. Can I just say you were a natural girly, a lock girly. Like you've been about this life for way longer than I have ever been. But that's actually the reason why I ended up going natural because my clients were coming in and people were going natural. I thought it was just a phase. And I said, you know what? I've been hearing it enough now to know that it's not going anywhere, but I want to be able to give the best information and not general information. So I ended up going natural just so that I could have the experience to fully embody the experience so that I was able to share proper guidance for my clients. But I want to know, so you were called into the hair loss industry. A lot of us feel called into the hair loss industry, but you still did styling, you still did cuts, you still did color, you still did weave, you still did a lot of education. That's another thing. I mean, you a world-renowned educator, but now you're focusing on hair loss. So what made you decide to just put everything aside and focus on hair loss? Were you afraid to make that decision? So, like, what made you focus on it, and what was that journey like?
So the initial the plan was to do more trichology initially, but I'd be very open and transparent. During my devotion, I heard God say, at the end of this year of 2021, it was going to be the last. I was going to be being a full time stylist, and it was very frightening for me um, because my clients, my family, like, how do I let go of the thing that I've known and loved? And so it brought me to tears.
Yeah.
So that direction I got clearly from God. And I don't want, I'm a kid that don't like to be in no trouble. I want to make sure that I keep it on the straight and narrow. And so
Yeah.
even my husband looks at me like, "What? You gonna do what? So how you gonna pay your bills?"
Hmm.
But I had already started to get a pretty robust hair loss clientele and business going. And so it wasn't, I didn't do it willy nilly. It was a plan behind it. But of course, the first direction was God, like, this is gonna be the timing for it. And so that Thanksgiving, I said, well, I need a date. And he
Hmm.
gave me the date of Thanksgiving. And that was the hardest thing to do. And I said, well, if it's saying, now this is me talking to God, right? So this may sound crazy to the person that doesn't believe, but if whatever you
Mm-hmm.
believe. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to do it until the nighttime because that's very mean. Because I felt like of all the days and times to tell somebody, and it's, it's a break in a relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
fast forward, ever since then, 2022, beginning of 2022, I did full-time trichology. I do style the clients that get hair loss services because most of my clients are women of color. I do have women that are Caucasian, Hispanic, but the majority of clients that come to me are women of color, and we are not walking out of a salon with wet hair. We need a
Yes.
style. Whether you braid me down for my unit, whatever you do, I got to come out of here looking like, you know, new money, So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do some styling. There's still a little bit of coloring and stuff, but the majority of people I work on right now are my clients that are going through hair loss.
yeah.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to want to help others? I mean, you're as long as I've known you, you've been in education. You've just always been that servant leader and trying to educate people on what you know. What inspired you to want to help others in that way?
I gotta think it's gotta be the way I was raised. I think that's my grandmother always raised us to always look back at the person around you and pull them up. So that really just came from my upbringing. But I naturally have a tendency to want to help a person, sometimes to a fault, where I put
Hmm.
my own self and my own business to the side. Um, but I really have to give my grandmother credit for that because that's how she raised us, and that's I think that's who I am because we're born different ways, right? So some of us are born to be different, have different roles, and I think that just that servanthood or that spirit of servanthood is something that I've always had. But Grandma, God rest her, she's up there in
Yeah.
heaven causing trouble right now. But she's the one really. It's a reason why I think I'm the way I am. It's really
So
her.
how is it now being a full-time trichologist? You're doing it full-time. How has that transition been for you?
So the transition was really perfect timing for me because and you probably know this, but in early this year, I had a health concern. I had an aortic aneurysm, which nobody really lives from. So that's a whole nother situation. Um, and it set me up
When
where
you say early, we can't just skate over that.
I had to skate over it. And we can't. So
This is a live reaction, everybody. We can't just skate over that. You're
okay.
saying early this year, and it's only January 30th.
So I'm
So,
no, last year.
oh my
I'm
goodness,
still in
I'm like,
2023.
okay.
I'm still in 2023, y'all. 2024 is not real yet. So in February of 2023, I had an aortic aneurysm. And this is one of the things why people need to pay attention to your body. Take the best care of yourself as possible. So I'm taking a shower. I'll give you a little story. I'm taking a shower, couldn't swallow, had a huge, very bad back pain, and I got out the shower and told my husband, call the ambulance. Something is not right. Um, Fast forward, they came, did some triaging. By the time they came, I could not walk. And this is a blessing for me right now. And I
Mm,
couldn't walk. Took me to the hospital. I had emergency surgery. The doctor told my husband that it is limb of a life because I may have lost my right leg. And so they did 6 hour surgery to rebuild my aorta. What was happening is I had unstable blood pressure for years. And so what happened with the blood flow beating against that aorta, the actual it peels away like an onion is the best way to
mhm,
say it. So I
mhm.
was 1 centimeter away from death, honey. But God,
But
because
God.
something great is going to come out of all of this. So today I'm fully functioning. I work in a salon. Um, if I had the same schedule as a stylist, I would not be able to manage those clients because I was doing 10, 12, 13, 14 clients in a day. Of course, I had a full-time assistant with me, but he put me in a position where I can still serve my clients doing 3, 4, maximum 5 people at the most in a day because they take a lot of time to service. And so it put me in a position where it is I was able to make the money that I needed to make that I'm doing right now and service the clients that I need to serve. So had I not listened in that space, two things would have happened to me. I could have been in Houston teaching that same weekend, and I could. There's a lot of coulda, woulda, shoulda, but I believe that everything happens, and I'm grateful for that. So I got off on a tangent, and so that because of that. because of my obedience, because of paying attention to my body, and because of you know, exercising and being strong, my recovery was a lot. It was a recovery. I went through a lot, but that's for the book. Um, so, but I share all of that to say that had I not listened, as afraid as I was to listen, as afraid I was to let go, I cried tears missing some of my clients. Um, had I not done that, I wouldn't be in a position now where I can not only serve clients the way that God wants me to serve clients, the way I would love to, but also be able to take care and be independent like I'm accustomed to be. So yeah, child.
Listen,
The girl could walk. I was looking like somebody great grandma with a walker. I went from a walker to a cane. I had neuropathy in my feet. All kind of crazy stuff happened.
I'm not gonna lie, you just pulled on my heartstrings real bad. I I can't even bounce back because I feel like I want to talk about something completely different. But I'm going to exercise my discipline right now,
Yeah, and
and
then we can come back
y-
and have that conversation because I didn't really plan to share that.
yeah,
But somebody on here needed to hear that.
yes, that's what I
Take care of
feel.
your
That's what
body.
I feel
Take care of your
because
body.
what I okay, let's talk about this a little bit, just just a little bit. It's the idea of attention to your body, which is in alignment with hair loss. Because hair loss has plagued our community for so long, your auntie had it, your mother had it, your cousin had it, your sister had it. A lot of people tend to ignore a symptom of hair loss, but that is your body response to something going on. So
Absolutely.
I just feel
Absolutely.
like that is directly in alignment with what we're talking about here today. It's just on a deeper level,
For
you
sure.
know.
For sure.
They're different, they're, different levels, different extremes of how your body is talking to you and how you react. And the other thing, the other call out is you already had gotten a message to start to transition your business. It's almost like God was preparing you to say, hey, I need you to slow down. So let's, shift that focus. It's so many gems in your story, like I said, but I know the girlies tuned in for a hair loss
Yeah. So
conversation.
we don't want
And
to
yeah,
not
and thank you, just
come in for.
thank you for that transparent moment because I know that that was divinely orchestrated. I felt it. I felt that. I know somebody's life is going to be touched, moved, and inspired by you sharing your story. So thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. So let's just jump into this hair loss conversation. Like I said, it's we know that it's plaguing our community, but oftentimes we write it off as maybe just heredity. This runs in my family, but not understanding that hair loss is really your body's response. We think but we always hear about stress. We always hear about genetics. We always hear about medication. But as of late, we hear that maybe your body has deficiencies and things like that. So I want to talk a little bit more about how you identify the hair loss in the first place.
So clients, when they come into me, I do a full consultation with them, and it's a health and wellness consultation. The first thing I do is I do a scalp analysis, and in the scalp analysis, it identifies the characteristics of the type of hair loss that you're experiencing. So that identifies that. The next piece, based on the type of hair loss that you're experiencing, my next questions that I ask you, based on body symptoms that you experience, will lead me to understand which body system, which is sounding the loudest alarm. Because let's say you having digestive issues, or let's say you have diabetes, right? That may be the first cause, but then what else is contributing to it to be able to pinpoint it? So it could be health based on diabetes and based on the medication that you take. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, but the first thing to do is to find out the type that you're experiencing based on the characteristics, and then the first cause as well as the contributing factors. And then based on those findings, I look at the top three things that we need to work on, because most of us, if you find out you have 10 things to do, we're going to start off maybe doing one or two, and then we fizzle off. So I look at the top three things that's most important to correct. and as well as topical treatments that's going to work along with it. But it's a mind body situation. It's your emotions. Emotions are connected to it. So I'm looking at that. How are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Because your emotions can impact your health. Long term, chronic things that we go through. And we say stress, but stress is a blanket statement. If we're stressed, then what is that stress affecting? My stress may make me overeat and be 400 pounds. Yours might make you anorexic. And or you may have be completely anxious all the time. So stress affects us a lot differently, each individual person. So this is why it's not cookie cutter, because we may present with the same type of hair loss, but our contributing factors may be different. Me and you might be siblings with the same parents, have the same hair loss, but have different contributing factors. You made a point of, we think that because our auntie had it, or grandma had it, sisters have it, that it's going to be our lot in life. But a lot of times, our lifestyle practices, our lifestyles, nutrition, what we eat, even how we respond to things that happen in our life is a learned behavior. So our learned behavior is based on who raised us and who we live with, as well as our diets. All those lifestyle things that we do contribute towards it. So a lot of times we might be genetically predisposed to a thing, but our lifestyle, our practices, and what we do in our daily life contribute towards it. So that's another thing that I look at. Yeah, you might have a genetic predisposition to a certain type of hair loss, but what are you doing to contribute to that hair loss? So it's a full situation that I look at, and then typically within about 2 or 3 business days after I've had that consultation with the client, it takes up to 90 minutes, sometimes a little bit more. Then I do they get a report from me, and after the report from me, then we hop on a call just to clarify some of the things that I see. I look at your nutrition, I look at any kind of medication that you take and things of that nature, because all those things play a part in contributing towards hair loss.
Yeah. And you had mentioned earlier when you were giving your introduction that you got into it because you didn't want the clients to think that you were the cause
No,
of the hair loss, right?
no.
So, because we know that there's things that contribute to the traction, alopecia, or tension. So it could be braids, it could be weaves, it could be wigs, tight ponytails,
Mhm.
and accessories, hats. So many different things. What would you say over the years have been a leading cause of hair loss? I know there's many, but is there one that's more common that you've seen over the years?
I hmm, that's a good one, because I get so many different ones, and I've had clients with more than one type of hair loss at the same time.
Mm. Oh,
Um,
wow. Like what?
so I can see somebody with hormonal hair loss, with traction, and an immune based hair loss, all in the same head of hair. So
Wow.
it may be in different spots. That's a good question, because we see a lot of traction, but sometimes traction. I see traction. I see a lot of hormonal hair loss, I will say. And
Hmm.
so whether it's postpartum hair loss or female pattern hair loss, I see a lot of hormonal hair loss. Some of the women in my practice with me are women in menopausal age or
I was just
perimenopausal
about to
age.
talk. That was my
Yeah.
next, you like read my
You
mind.
right there,
That
girl.
was
You right there.
that was the
Yeah.
next thing I was gonna say. Yeah.
So I see a lot of hormonal, the ones that are just had babies, and the ones that's postpartum, and I see a lot of hormonal hair loss. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of hormonal hair loss, one of my earlier episodes, we spoke about menopause and some of the strangest symptoms that come along with menopause. That because we only know menopause as hot flashes,
Uh,
or or whatever popular thing that you hear about, or you just think about menopause as your period ends. That's it. You have hot flashes and that. And through my research, because I had my little drama that happened also, through my research, I found out that it's so many weird and unusual symptoms that happen as a result of going through perimenopause, that 5 to 7 years or sometimes more leading up to the actual menopause itself. And one of those things was hair loss.
mhm.
So I noticed too, but also I was iron deficient. I was iron deficient. So I noticed that I know as a hairstylist, we say it all the time. You shed 50 to 100 strands a day on average. Some people more, some people less. So there have been periods where I'm just like, this seems like a little more than 50 to 100. But everybody I ask, they just see the length and but you have so much or whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just say that to say that menopause and perimenopause, it's another stage in women's life where thinning can occur. But I want to talk about, I don't know if it's going to be too much to talk about treatments for each symptom, but menopause specifically, is there something you can do to balance your hormones, or is this just a part of life?
So the first thing I would definitely suggest is a blood work, because the first thing to do is to find out which of your female sex hormones are you have you is there a declination in. It could be progesterone. You could have higher levels of testosterone, which makes your estrogen levels lower. So it's so many different moving parts. Some women start to get a lot of, we call it hirsutism, hair around the face. Hair almost like a beard. Sometimes the body hairs can be excessive during perimenopause and menopause. So it really also depends on the hormone levels that you have. Of course, we know eating foods like anti-inflammatory foods, making sure that you take your multivitamins, um, things of that nature, staying away from fried foods and fast foods, which are nutrient deficient. All the diet, the exercise, the yoga, the meditation, all things that make the body balanced is going to help you going through any season in your life. With menopause, I can't give a specific because everybody is different. And
Right.
so to give you and say, hey, go out there and take evening primrose oil, you know, what if that person has some kind of reaction to it, But you've heard of evening primrose oil, you heard of some OBGYN that will give you hormone therapy. I always say this, right? Anything that you're prescribed to do. Now, if it's life saving, honey, the girl is taking her own. So I'm not even
Yeah.
questioning that because medication has a place, but always be your best advocate. So if your doctor says, I want to put you on this medication, do your own research, come in with all the questions because we never remember them. So you have these questions to ask your doctor. So this is one of the things that I do with clients that do our consultations with me. I will give them a list of questions to ask their medical doctor so they can be informed and they can advocate for themselves. On occasion, they'll ask me, "Can you come with me?" And if the doctor's okay with that, then I've gone to a dermatologist with a doc. I met the derm that a client was going to see because she had questions and she wanted to continue to go see that dermatologist. So I didn't mind because I think it's also important that I believe in doing a holistic way, and that's what I do. But everyone has a choice as to the route that they want to take. So if that's a route you want to take, I want to arm you with the right information, the right questions, so you could be an educated consumer.
It's so funny that you mentioned that holistic way because we come from a Caribbean background. And every time I mention Caribbean background, this is not shade to Caribbeans in my audience. It's just that we have our little things we do and our little nuances. And a couple of them are these home remedies like Jamaican black castor oil or, ooh, I struck a nerve. I could I could tell I struck a nerve, but the things that you
Well,
read
no,
on the
I'm
internet.
sorry. I don't have a poker face. I mean, everything has a place and a purpose, but you have to know the viscosity, the thickness, the authenticity of the product. You have to know the environment that you live in. Now, if you live in the Caribbean where it's warm all the time, some things work better. There's a lot less environmental pollution, things of that nature. Um, if you're not shampooing your hair often enough, it's a lot of moving things. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't have a place, but some of them, depending upon what it's mixed with, the thickness of the product, all it's going to do is sit on top of the scalp. And then we could have a whole conversation about Jamaican castor oil, one whole hour of a Jamaican black castor oil. But I'm sorry.
No,
I digress.
I saw
I
it.
digress. I caught myself rolling my eyes. I was like, oh, dear
No,
God.
you didn't
There
roll
you
them.
go.
It was a long blink. It was just a long blink. I said, "Oop." All right. All right, all right. Okay, so also speaking of holistic and not just Caribbean people, I find that we're moving into this era where more people are woke. You got your vegans and your vegetarians, and people are working now.
Did I do
Is
that?
that another? Is
Okay.
that another?
I'm gonna take a sip of whatever's in this cup, some tea.
Is
Because
that
my
another
behavior is
long
really
blink?
bad right now. My behavior is really bad. I'm sorry, y'all. I hope you're entertained, but my behavior is bad. I'm not. That's the last time I'm going to do that.
Okay. So I said all that to say that some people really feel like I'm doing my thing, I'm getting my rest, I'm drinking my water, I'm minding my business, and this is still happening to me. I'm still getting sick, I'm still losing my hair. So, what do you have to the people who feels like this hair loss or this ailment is just a big mystery to them because they're eating right and they're doing all things the right way? Or they could be following a fad as well.
So what you'll find now when it comes to being vegan, vegan is very, very popular, but a lot of vegan food that we eat, especially takeout vegan food, is really fast food.
Mhm.
So even though it's vegan food, it's marketed as healthy, but a lot of it is you might as well just go get you some McDonald's, and
Mm.
because of the nutritional deficiency in it. Also, too, there's something called essential amino acids that the body needs. Every cell in the body needs, and when you're vegetarian or you're vegan, you're missing some essential amino acids. So you need to sit with a nutritionist that deals with somebody that's going to be either pescatarian or vegetarian or vegan, to make sure that you're eating all of those essential amino acids and the essential nutrients to be able to feed the body the best way. If not, you're imbalanced. Um, and so if you're imbalanced, then you're going to see hair fall. You
Yeah.
might feel tired. You might have like a dull look in your skin, things of that nature. You may not be going to the bathroom properly. So there's some things that we see because not because it's a fad, means is that because it's a fad right now. It's people are making a lot of money, and there's some people that are very, very healthy because they're eating and they do making the right food choices to be vegan. So that's
Yeah.
the best I can tell you. You could still. I've had vegans lose hair because of their diets. We made
Yeah.
some changes in the diet, still keeping them vegan. I made some recommendations in the diet. All of a sudden, the hair stops falling because you're missing essential
I
foods in your diet.
actually I actually tried to be vegan a few times because I got caught up in the raptures of the hype of it, but what I realized is that I was already anemic. So I had a low hemoglobin, low red blood count, and being vegan wasn't giving me the proper iron that I needed fast enough
Right.
for me to stay ahead of it. Of course, there were some other contributing factors to my anemia, but it wasn't really working with my lifestyle. So I want to ask you a question. Um, we haven't really said the word alopecia. Alopecia. That's another uh, catchphrase right now. But I mean, we're professionals, so alopecia is the medical term for hair loss. But
Correct.
now we're actually hearing people are saying alopecia, alopecia, and I think that that infamous moment with when the slap, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock because oh Lord,
Just
and
eyes for a second.
I'm pressing all the buttons tonight.
No, but this is good. This is good. This is good.
I'm pressing all the buttons tonight. So you know the whole background. Will Smith slapped Chris Rock because Chris Rock was making G.I. Jane references where the character had a bald head. He felt that this was a very sensitive, sore topic because his wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, was suffering from alopecia. I've never heard the word alopecia so much since that
Yeah.
infamous night. So how has that awareness, how do you feel about that sudden awareness of this term alopecia?
So what I'm happy about is that we're talking about it,
Mhm.
because a lot of people hid in embarrassment, and not and shame. So I'm glad we're talking about it. But alopecia simply means hair loss. But there are over 100 types of hair loss. 100 types of alopecia. So alopecia is a Greek term for hair loss. Um, So when you go to see a doctor, a trichologist, whoever is going to diagnose or identify, you want to ask them what type of alopecia, because a lot of times
Mhm.
they'll come back from a visit, from a doctor's visit, and say, "Oh, I have alopecia." Okay,
Yeah.
what type of alopecia? Because there's so many different
Do
types.
you think Jada Pinkett Smith has alopecia? You want to plead the fifth on that?
No, she has alopecia. The
Okay.
question is, what it could be. There's so many different types, right? Um, to give you a exact diagnosis or exact identification, I would have to see it microscopically when her hair is not shaved, because the characteristics of it, um, when her hair is not shaved, you'll be able to see a lot better, or microscopically. So she definitely has some.
Mhm.
There's some types that you lose all the hair on your head and on your body.
Yeah.
There's some that you just lose the hair on your head. So, and there's some where it's patchy hair loss. So that's
Mhm.
alopecia areata, and it can come and go. It can be acute or chronic. So it's so many different types. So I to make a judgment as a type that she has,
Yeah. You wouldn't
I
know
think
until
of it.
yeah, you would have
I'd never be
to
responsible to say, but she definitely
mhm.
does. She definitely does. Nobody
You
shaved their
know,
head off. I just to shave their head off.
I
Yeah.
feel like when that situation happened, a lot of side eyeing was happening, right? Because it was such a dramatic display. But
Absolutely.
like you said, it brought awareness to something that needed awareness brought to it. Now we have products, more products than ever on we're going to talk about ooh, I'm getting a lot of long blinks tonight. All
No,
right,
no,
hold
I'm
on,
trying
hold
to
on.
check myself. I'm trying to check
Hold on,
myself.
hold on, hold on, hold
I
on.
caught myself. I caught myself. So no, products have a place. Products have a place. Let me be very clear. Products have a place. However, and I sell my own products. Okay, so as a product manufacturer, whatever, I do sell my own products, but they have a place. But it is not the be all and end all. It is a part of the process. I'm going to behave now.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. I hear
Maybe,
you.
maybe not.
I mean, when I was behind a chair and even being in the beauty industry, there's some things that definitely make me long blink as well. But I'm thinking now about it brought up this topic of products and all these products coming up. But the other thing too is I didn't know, not I don't think people realize the sensitivity around the topic. I think that was another byproduct of that dramatic scene that, oh my goodness. So making a ball reference or a ball joke is not appropriate, or is it funny? Is it not funny? And so that brought awareness to it because a lot of people make jokes around it just like everything else, but it's just something you hee and you keep it moving, not really realizing that this could be an extremely sensitive topic for people, which was another reason why I wanted to have this conversation here tonight, because I'm all about building your personal brand. I'm all about coming out of the shadows, stepping up, being more visible, showing up to grow your business and grow your brand. And if something like that is a barrier to um for you to be seen, that's something that I want to talk about, you know. So hair loss right now have been camouflage, alopecia have been camouflaged with women shaving their hair off and just embracing that look, or they're getting extensions. They're getting wigs, they're getting lace fronts that look amazing, by the way. But what do you think? Do you think that certain styles are making it worse, or how can women have the confidence to show up? What message do you have for this woman that's suffering from alopecia that can help them to just kind of embrace it, accept it, do the work, and take that next step?
You have is I will say this is very, very sensitive. And a lot of times it's different for each person. Not everybody's ready to embrace it being bald. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so every person's at a different stage. I think the emotional support is the biggest part of a woman feeling confident. And and if it means that a wig is the situation, I try to stay away from any kind of adhesives because it only exasperates it. Any kind of tension because it only exasperates it. Um, However, I look at it like this. Sometimes we have to make a choice because if a woman walking out with just a wig on or wearing or trying to wear her hair and she does not feel confident, then the job that we're trying to do as trichologists to regrow the hair, it just it negates everything that we do. So there's been times that I said, okay, we're gonna do this style, but we can't keep it in too long, because I realized that no matter what we did, that person's confidence was being compromised. And so there's times that I will say, okay, we're gonna try this, and then we're gonna have to go back. And so I do compromise. So everybody's different, Stacey.
Yeah, there's
So
a lot of I found that there was a lot of resistance around it because people just don't want to tap into that insecurity. So, they will do styles that is going to make their hair worse just to continue to camouflage. So, I just definitely want to talk
there's a lot
about
of
some.
layers to it. It's a lot of layers to because it's more than hair.
Yeah.
And so once you start to open that Pandora's box, some people are not ready to speak on it. Um, During the beginning of my career doing trichology, I had a client, and during our consultation, and this is just discernment. I could not have, I didn't never knew her from anywhere, not from Adam, but I picked up that she was sexually molested as a child,
Mhm.
and suppressing that and not being able to speak about it, not to be to get any support from it, has something that she fought with for years.
Mhm.
So that's one of the pieces that was kind of um,
Festering on the inside.
it showed up in the consultation. So there's times that it's a box of tissues, it's a lot of hugging, because and not everyone's consultation is like that.
Mhm.
In this particular situation, so I was able to suggest a therapist for her to help with. And years later, she just came back and said that was the best thing that you could ever did for me,
Mhm.
because that's something that she needed to get out, and she felt that she had no support as a young woman. So,
Mhm.
so I should. This is why it's so important that even as a hairstylist, we're very careful with how we talk with our clients. Stop saying to a person that you cut hair off, "Oh, it'll grow back." That's what that one person that has a lot of hair, that they'll look at you and say, "Cut your hair off and it'll grow back." And they look
Mhm.
at somebody like me that I do have some hair loss, that I from postpartum. There's some scarring there. There's some hair loss from the last surgeries. um, I am not self-conscious about it. But for the person that's self-conscious about it, that doesn't have any answers, it'll take them to a place emotionally that can set them all the way back.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of moving parts to it, because everything that we go through in our life, it affects us differently. Where somebody else, they would never see any hair loss from that situation. They're over it. They did what they did to do, and they're okay. And then there's one person that it's still festering. So it's so many layers to it. It's
Yeah.
I said when you're working with somebody that has hair loss like that, I keep them in. There's different layers, different levels to it. Some want to be around everybody else, and some are like, I need to be in private. So I keep a private space that we work with, so you have your private. Nobody, you're not exposed. And some are like, listen, I need to talk to somebody. I just don't want to just see you. And
Mhm.
that's okay. There's a space for that as well too. So hope to answer the question, but it's a lot
Yes, of course, of course, of course.
of layers to it.
So we talked about how hair loss, how alopecia has had its impact on business women or just women showing up in the world. We talked about some of the ways that that can happen with self-esteem, with confidence, and just making them go back more in the shadows. But now I want to talk about maybe some practical steps to help them to start taking steps to moving forward to that freedom, so to speak. So the first thing, obviously, is if you're experiencing any type of hair loss at all, um, you need to go and see blank, fill in the blank. If you feel like you're experiencing hair loss that's above normal or average for yourself, you need to go see.
So you'd make a choice. You see a dermatologist or a trichologist. The difference between a dermatologist and a trichologist is medically, they'll take a look at it. They'll give you a prescribed medication. that may or may not help. Your trichologist is going to dig a lot deeper. We're going to get to the root of it. We're going to make some suggestions and recommendations for you. We're not medical professionals. We're paramedical professionals. So we don't diagnose, but we do make suggestions and we do identify what's going on. And
Okay.
so we have the time to sit with you and really get to the bottom of what's going on. And then
Before
we,
you go any further, I'm sorry. Can you just quickly tell us the difference between the dermatologist and the trichologist and what
sure.
their differences are and how they can work together?
So your dermatologist is your medical professional that deals with skin and hair and scalp and things of that nature, right? And so typically they take insurance, and they also, when you go to see them, some will just look at you and give you medication. Some will look at you microscopically. Everyone has a different protocol. But what I found is that most people get the same recommendations. You may get ketoconazole shampoo. You may get a nioxin or uh,
Minoxidil.
minoxidil topical. And so it's the same thing, and they say come back and see me in 3 months. And so, or you might get steroid shots.
Or the
Those
steroid, right?
those are the three typical things that you'll see when you go to see your dermatologist. And for some people, that works.
Hmm.
For some, when they get the steroid shots, they go into what we call the telogen or the hair shedding phase. And so more hair falls initially. Again, you have to choose which one you want to go. Do you want to go the medical route or you want to go holistic route? Holistic route may take you a little bit longer. However, we're able to pinpoint more
The trichologist is able to pinpoint more.
because we're asking more questions about getting to the root source of it. Because it depends on what's causing it. If it's a temporary situation where the body balances itself out, then that may work. If it's something that's fungal that's causing it, then you may need a medication from your for your dermatologist. But your dermatologist is going to always work from a medical perspective.
Right.
I'm going to give you a medication that's going to either um, suppress the symptom or encourage some type of healing. The trichologist is going to look at it from a holistic standpoint.
Okay.
We're going to dig deeper to see why it's happening, and then we're going to also make only holistic recommendations. There's nothing that's invasive, there's no shots, nothing of that nature. What we do is more holistic. So it depends on the route that you want to go, and do you want to find out why this is happening to you?
Hmm.
So a lot of times they'll go to the dermatologist to get a diagnosis.
Right.
Sometimes it's what it depends. There's some that are really specialized in hair loss, and
Yeah.
there's some that take the hair loss client that's not their specialty.
I do find that there's some dermatologists who specialize in black hair and black skin.
Mhm.
So they have taken it another level to specialize. And I know one dermatologist who actually went on to get her cosmetology license. And by now, she's probably been certified as a trichologist. So, first, you want to identify the hair loss and diagnose what type of hair loss you have,
Correct.
right? Once you get a diagnosis of what type of hair loss you have, then what should be the next step?
Well, I mean, if you're going to see your dermatologist, they're going to give you topical recommendations. There are some that are a little more what we call integrative that will give you nutritional recommendations and things of that nature. It depends on the one that you see. So I'm saying that there are some. I know one person that I think that she's the dopest person in the world, Dr. Osei Tutu. I love her to death, and I'm calling her name. I don't care. I think that she's amazing at what she does. Um, so it all depends on the route that you choose. So if you go to dermatologist route and you get the results that you're looking for, fantastic.
Hmm.
If you go to trichologist route and you get the results that you're looking for, fantastic. It all requires you doing some work yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm really trying to get to. So these practical steps, I'm just trying to make it more digestible for people who might be in a situation so they can just start moving. Because remember, I want you to show up. And if this is getting in the way, I need to make it as easy as possible.
For
They
sure.
diagnose, they figure out what type of hair loss you have. Now we have to go into the treatment. But let's just reverse a little bit. What are some symptoms of hair loss? I mean, obviously, you're going to see, because is there such thing like with some ailments, there's early detection. I guess that's what I'm trying to
So
say.
so there's a type of hair loss that is typically women of color suffer from called CCCA, central centrifugal cicatricial alopecia. Typically
That's a mouthful. Yeah,
CCCA.
CCCA.
And so it affects typically the crown area. Now we found that you can have it in more than one spot, but typically it affects the crown area. You'll start off with sometimes a burning,
Mhm.
tenderness, and an itch that you cannot get any kind of relief
Yes, I've had clients like that, right in here.
in the crown area. No matter what you do, they want you to scrub until they scalp bleeds. It is just, and it starts off in that area.
Mhm.
And so
Why
that is
Black women though? Why do you think?
I think lifestyle. I think genetics and lifestyle.
Okay,
That I think that's what it really is. Um,
so the early detection. Sorry.
yeah. So with that, so that tends to be autoimmune, immune based, right?
Mhm.
And so what the body looks at the hair follicle as foreign and it attacks it, and so it kills off the follicle, which means that once it does, it creates scarring.
Mhm.
Scarring means permanent hair loss. So early detection with that can allow you to be able to control it, stabilize it, and if the follicle is not destroyed, then hair regrowth can happen. So I'll give you a good example of a client of mine that came in for just a shampoo and style, and because I had the trichological knowledge, we looked at her. My assistant was like, "Nick, look at this," and I was like, immediately knew what to do. So
Mhm.
she's with me now. It's got to be about 7 years later,
Mhm.
and she wears a short natural, and you have no idea that there's some scarring in there because we caught it really quickly. And
Mhm.
so she has other immune, she gets hives very easily, such as other immune contributors to it. I can only help you to the extent that you can actually be honest with me. But I know what I know. So because with topically, I gave her some recommendations, and now you would never know because we
Mhm.
caught it early. So that kind of cicatricial or scarring hair loss, if caught early, you can stabilize it.
Right.
And this way,
So you were talking about scarring, and I
mhm,
know with scarring, it has different effects in terms of treatments. So I just wanted to manage some of the ideas and maybe the reality of some of these certain types of hair loss, right? So once you determine that you have hair loss, are all hair loss reversible?
no,
Okay.
no. So you can have a temporary form of hair loss, but whatever the contributing factors to it are not addressed, then it can become permanent.
Mhm.
Hair loss from like cancer patients that are on medication that cause um, hair loss, you can't. That's something that we can't touch. Even the medical doctor can't touch because those medications are there to um, prevent the cancer from coming back, to stabilize the cancer, whatever's going on. So there's certain things that we can't touch. Once the follicle has died, one of the follicles we call burned out, there's no possible hair growth, then we can't recover from that. So for instance, there's a couple of types of hair loss. There's one called frontal fibrosing alopecia. And if the skin tends to look like the back of your hand in that area, most likely that hair loss cannot be, you cannot get recovery from the hair loss.
Mhm.
Um, temporary types of hair loss can be, but I sound like I'm doing a song and a dance with you because I can have a temporary type of hair loss. Um, but if my body or my hairstyling practices don't align or balance, then it can become permanent.
Mhm.
So
How can you determine if the hair can come back or not? Is that gonna be in a consultation, some
that's
type of exam? How can you determine, can this be reversible? Can it grow back,
So,
or is
good
it?
question. So,
Mhm.
the type of hair loss, the number one will identify if it can come back, and then identifying the root cause of it will also make a difference. So, knowing the type of hair loss and the root cause will let you know. And then typically, like we'll look at somebody that has had hair loss for a significant amount of time, and there's some very very fine baby hair. Typically, that recovery cannot be 100% because the follicles have already shrunk. Hairs that's growing out we call vellus hair, very very fine baby strands of hair. So a
Mhm.
full recovery for somebody like that is not likely.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very cautious with the words that I use because it's for somebody that has that's looking to get an answer and is digging and searching and trying all kinds of stuff. If it's been a while and it looks like the back of your hand, you're scarred, is permanent hair loss.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, in that area, full recovery sometimes is not possible at all. Um,
I've also seen a lot of hair growth oils, and you see the before and after photos, the transformation. It's just a little drop, this tension alopecia that's happening around the hairline. You see that people are kind of losing their hair here. They put a few drops and then 6 weeks later, they have a little afro there. I mean, is that marketing or is that one of the temporary hair loss that you're talking about?
so hair oils have a place. But if there is no active follicles, because I did the purpose of the hair oil, and I can't talk about all of them. The ingredients in them are to stimulate circulation. Circulation increases hair blood flow. Blood flow is what
Right.
feeds a follicle. So if there are active follicles or there are actually follicles present, then you have a chance to. Because I've had one of clients that are postpartum that it went from almost nothing to a big afro, but the follicles were present, they were open, and that's a difference. So for somebody that doesn't have that, then they may not have that hair growth. So it's a combination of the hairstyling practices along with the growth oils. Can you have that kind of growth? Yes. But remember, Stacey, we talk about growth stages, right? You are one to me that you have a long growth stage.
Mm-hmm.
So your hair grows anywhere between 2 to 7 years, and then it rests for about 3 months,
Mm-hmm.
right? So and for me, and when I look at your hair, you have a long growth stage, but you also retain the hair that you grow.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
But that hair retention, that's another conversation because I didn't
but we
always retain length. We have to maintain it because
but
I used to lose a lot of length from my ends, not necessarily, you know,
Mhm.
losing hair from my follicle. It
Right,
was just that constant dryness. The longer it got, the drier it got. So it took a lot of nursing this hair to
absolutely,
retain it. It wasn't
absolutely.
like
It
you
wasn't over. I understand that. I understand that
yeah,
because, like, as I said, we can grow that hair, but we don't. Doesn't mean that we retain the length. Um. So did I answer that question? Because I'd be going off in
you
tangents
did,
with
you
this
did, you did, you did,
all
you
night.
did.
We could be
So
here all night.
now, huh?
We could be here all night.
Yeah, no, 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 no. So now I think what I want to do, we gave them some practical steps. The first thing you could do, because this is all about showing up as your best self, awakening the greatness within. And if this has been a barrier for that, here are some practical steps. You feel like you're losing some hair. Don't assume it's because your mom, your aunt, your sister, your cousin, it runs in the family. Let's not, that's the first thing. Let's not make that assumption that you're next in line. That's just like diabetes, high blood pressure,
Absolutely.
a lot of things we feel like it just runs in our family. But like you said, it could be lifestyle, it could be diet, it could be other contributing factors. That's
Absolutely.
number one. So now we need to go to a professional. We're going to choose a dermatologist, or we're going to choose a trichologist, or we're going to choose both. We're going to get diagnosed on the type of hair loss that we have, and we're going to find out what are our options for treatment and what are our solutions. The next thing is to find out, can this hair grow back? And if it can, how can I be reinforce this process and be proactive in getting it back? And if it can't, then we have to do some type of, you know, inner work or get some support and have different options in the event we find out that it can't. Okay, so that is that. So now if you're part of the Girl Activate community on Facebook, I put out a poll the other day. Usually, I put out polls right before the podcast where you can ask your questions, and I will ask them live on the podcast. So now you see it's the real deal. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you some of the questions from our direct audience. And if we have time, then I see some additional questions right on our sidebar that came from Facebook. I think I see one from YouTube and one from Facebook. So let me just go right ahead into um, our member questions. Now, one thing, I didn't ask if they wanted their name mentioned, so I'm not going to mention any names. I'm just going to start shooting out the questions. So the first one is, how should I combat nape hair breakage? So for people listening, the nape is the very bottom of the neck. I found that during the wintertime, a lot of my clients used to suffer from that type of hair breakage. And that was usually due to friction from the scarf, from collars, from, just from friction. So, how do you think that one can combat nape hair breakage?
Definitely the coats can cause it in the wintertime. So you want to make sure that the scarf that you use is like some kind of silk based scarf. Um,
But there are also clients that had it all year round. So I
and
mean,
so,
in the winter it made sense, but in
for
the
sure.
summer you're like, okay, it's still breaking. What's the problem?
So if you ever had a chemical service and you had a chemical burn in that area, the hair in that area is going to always be fragile.
Mm-hmm.
So as it grows, it may break. Some of us tie our scarves that we go to bed at night too tight.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because you
I
don't want it to slip off.
I
Hello.
know. So like, yeah, wake up and put it back on. So it's a hard call, right? Because you want to stay on, but if it's too tight, that tension from that scarf, whether it's satin or not, can cause it to break. So if you had a chemical burn, that compromise the hair that grows and it's going to break. Um, some clients actually twirl their hair. They play with the hair at the nape area, and so and it's a comforting type of thing. They don't realize it, and so it might be just one side. It may not be entire nape area. So it all depends. It depends on what's causing the hair to be weak. Definitely coats can do it. Like you
Mm-hmm.
said, also tight scarves, even wigs can do it because
Even
sometimes
what?
wigs
Okay.
because
That
the
tension from the clips or the comb or the rubbing.
bands can do it from the wig, but also too, depending upon the base that's done, some of the bases are very coarse to the touch, and so because of that, that friction from
They
that wig,
snag.
it snags the hair. Yeah.
Yes, I've
So
experienced that. So the other part of that question is, what is the best treatment or prevention of? Oh, actually, it's a different question. This one is about ingrown hairs at the nape area. What is the best treatment for and prevention of ingrown hairs at the nape hair area? I will say the ingrown hairs sometimes, and this is some old knowledge. I'm trying to flex right now.
oh, listen,
Let me test my knowledge, Nikki. Okay, let
yeah,
me test. I remember there was a term called folliculitis. It's like the inflammation of the follicle that presents itself as like pimples or bumps. I don't know if that could be showing up as ingrown hairs at the nape. So I was just flexing a little bit.
no, and that's good.
So
That's
the
good.
best treatment for ingrown hairs at the nape.
So if it's an ingrown hair, the first thing I would always say is this: if you get your hair cut at a barber or even a hair salon and things of that nature, once you go home, use some kind of rose water or some antiseptic to clean the area. If you end up getting a ingrown hair, there's something called TEND skin, TEND skin, that you can apply to that area that's going to help that ingrown hair. If it's folliculitis, you want to go see a dermatologist or you want to go see a trichologist because now it becomes inflammation of the actual follicle and it can be pus like. If it's pus like, be very careful with that. That I would want to seek a professional when it comes to any kind of folliculitis or pus like type of where the ingrown hair actually sits because then there may be some kind of infection.
I
But
would say I didn't see a lot of ingrown hairs in the nape of the neck. Only I would see that here and there for my clients that had their short pixie cuts. And like you said, they were getting,
hair curls.
shaved down, trimmed down. And if you did a little outline, they may have gotten some bumps there. Typically, I didn't really see um, bumps or any kind of ingrown hair in that area.
No, it's again, the tools we use are clean. We use barbicide every single time after, so if the tools that the stylists use are clean, um, and that, I'll break down over my clippers and clean them and then disinfect it every single time that can prevent it. But some people's hair, skin and scalp are very sensitive. So regardless of how you clean, they react to it. And if that's the case, it's called TEND skin.
Hmm.
That works for, and men use it for beards as well, for ingrown.
Okay. So, which supplement is more effective, liquid collagen or collagen in pill form?
So anything that you take in a liquid form is going to also the body be able to uptake it a lot quicker. So when you take a pill, the body has to digest the shell of the pill, so it takes a little bit longer. The casing of the pill, so pills take a little bit longer to digest and uptake into the bloodstream. So any liquid that you take is going to also go right into the bloodstream faster, and you'll have better uptake of it. So whether it's liquid or I think liquids always, if you want to have more absorption, liquids are always going to be better.
Well, this question made me automatically think of a question I used to get all the time, and that was biotin supplements and hair, skin, and nail supplements. I see you tried to hold it back this time. Biotin supplements.
I'm trying.
Biotin supplements and hair, skin, and nail supplements. I'm just gonna throw that out there. What do you think about that?
So there are some. So biotin is vitamin B7. It is if you're not deficient in it, you have what we call expensive B. Because it's a water soluble pill, whatever the body doesn't use, it will excrete. If you have issues with I'm gonna try to find because it's hard to know if you do or don't. If you take too much of a thing, thinking that it's good, like oh they say just take let's say 100 IU's of it, and then you want to go take 5, 6, or 7, then
Hmm.
you may have vitamin toxicity because now you're taking excess of what's recommended, and then the body doesn't need it. So, but if you're not um, deficient, then you just have expensive P. But I also believe in something called the
But how? I
placebo.
mean, well, how would they know? They
You have
just pick up hair, skin, and nail vitamins, thinking it's going to make their hair get thicker or longer, or biotin because you read it in a blog.
So,
How do
so
you know if you're deficient?
when it comes to biotin, that's biotin. There's some hair, skin, and nails that that can be in addition to a multivitamin. But again, you have to kind of vet the one that you use. Um, I believe in a multivitamin regimen that balances the body totally. And if you have deficiencies, reach out to your doctor. Once they do, then if your doctor recommends, let's say you're iron deficient, then you add on the iron that's necessary. If you need extra magnesium or calcium or things of that nature, then under your doctor's direction, you would add that on. So you do therapy types of vitamins based on deficiencies, but a multivitamin that's going to give the body what it needs.
Yeah,
At the
I've
minute.
seen I've seen ads on my social media feed for Nutrafol and gummies and all of these things. They're just like people's hair got thicker and longer and all this other stuff. So is minoxidil more effective taken orally or when applied to the scalp?
So minoxidil was created for high blood pressure. It's what they call a vasodilator. So it allows the blood to flow.
Hmm.
Um, I'm always, when it comes to any kind of medicine, I look at side effects. Um, and topically, it'll absorb into the scalp. You may start to see like hair growing on the face because it does absorb in. Orally, everybody reacts differently, and some people just want to take a pill. Um, Pills have a place, but I would always say be an educated consumer and do your research and see if the side effects of it is something that you're willing to take a risk with. Um, Anything that you do topically that you stop. So what happens is this minoxidil, it works as you're using it. Once you stop, you're
That's
going to
it.
see where the hair loss will revert.
So that's a lifetime commitment.
It is.
Yeah.
There's some things that you need to kind of pull back on because your doctor will tell you, even when you go to get shots, steroid shots, we can only do it for a certain amount of time and then we have to take a break from it. So the
Hmm.
real thing is to find out, why is this happening to me? What can I do, holistically in my daily lifestyle to be able to balance the body?
You did mention, now that I'm putting everything together, you did mention also getting a blood test workup, whether it be a hormonal check. But I know sometimes with the CBC,
Mhm.
which is just a regular blood workup, sometimes they check for iron, hemoglobin, but you have to make some specific requests. Even sometimes vitamin D, something like vitamin D, they don't automatically check for. Can you give a few things that they should add to the blood panel, the work request to be
I mean,
tested?
So I definitely think that you want to. It depends on what you're looking for. So if you're a woman that you're in menopause or perimenopause, you may need to see like an endocrinologist because your regular doctor may not do a test unless there's a symptom, right? But if you can get a female sex hormone panel, which
Mm-hmm.
is a little bit more robust, they'll be able to see from it because typically they'll take a thyroid stimulating hormone and they may take one estrogen, but there's I think about 6 or 7 different type of estrogens. So if you're concerned about that hormonal piece, seeking out a dermatologist, OBGYN that will do it, or an endocrinologist. If you have thyroid issues, of course, an endocrinologist. But iron definitely is one. Um, your ferritin, which is your iron stores,
Mm-hmm.
is another one. Um, vitamin D, of course, it's another one we see a lot of hair loss from because vitamin D is a hormone. That's a whole
Mm-hmm.
other subject.
Wow.
Um, I think those are the main ones. So your iron, that's what we see a lot of is a lot of iron deficiency, a lot of vitamin D deficiency, a lot of low iron stores. Those are the main ones that you would want to check. And what I would say is this: as you get your results, because not most of us have to get our results in the portal, you want to look at it. If your doctor says you're okay, and you're not, and you're sitting closer to the high, close to low, it's a concern. If you're close to
Mm-hmm.
the center of the results, then you feel a little more safe. But if you tell me I'm okay and I'm like 2 points from being high or 2 points from being low, then that should become a concern for you. And then that's where you'd ask your doctor questions. I know you said I'm okay, and there are parameters that they have to work with. So it's a fine line, but read it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely read it for yourself.
Also, I've seen some uh ads. I get a lot of hair ads on my news feed, and there was one that really caught my attention that I first saw in the male community, where the men who were losing all their hair in the middle, they were flying over to Turkey to get hair grafting, where they take the healthy hair from one part and they implant it, hair implants, into the area that was bald, and then the hair just regrows and they have a full head of hair. So I just saw a lot of men doing it. And then out of nowhere, I saw a woman doing it, actually hair transplant, where they graft it from one area and put it into another. What do you think about the transplant and the hair grafting?
So with the transplants, you have to have active follicles. So if you don't have active follicles, you're not a good candidate for it. If you are a person of color and you're keloid, I've seen someone do it. A gentleman got it done, and they grafted it, and he keloid all the way, and it looked like liver. If you know what liver looks
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
raw liver. So he keloid horribly. So if your skin keloids or if you're keloid in your family, be mindful of that. Um, it does work for some people, but you can't go back to the same tight styles. As long as you have active follicles, it can it can work. It is very
Mm-hmm.
painful. Your mind is sedated. You're not going to sleep, so you're gonna feel everything that happens.
Ooh.
There's another doctor that does technology where he takes out strand by strand and harvests it. It's a little less invasive, but it still is painful because you're going to feel it and it's going to be raw for a long time.
Yeah.
So
I've
you have
seen
to kind of,
photos and videos.
yeah, yeah. So can it be done? Yes, but it's just like anything else. You've got to do the work to keep that hair that grew, and you can't go back to putting things like braids and weaves and wigs on top of it because that in itself will make it go. So in my experience, a few people that I've seen do it, within a year or two, that hair loss came back because the hair loss was still evident.
Yeah, and there's also some alopecia that we're finding that is triggered by autoimmune disease. So there's some trial medicines out there. There are actually some medicines on the market like Litfulo and um, Rinvoq. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, but one that treats rheumatoid arthritis and another that treats an autoimmune disease. What do you think about these medicines? Because automatically, when I think about these medicines, I think about their side effects, and I'm thinking, is it worth getting the side effects from such a maybe strong medication?
So typically what I've noticed is that some of the medications are called immunosuppressants, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that the immune system is attacking itself. They do immunosuppressant medication. So what that means is that your immune system no longer functions optimally with the
Mm-hmm.
medication. So if when you think about it, we need our immune system to fight everything, right? And so if the medication that we're taking to prevent the hair loss that's caused by immunity or autoimmunity um, is we're trying to regrow hair. I don't. You have to decide if that's worth it for you. And for some people, it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know these medications exactly, but typically it's immunosuppressant medications that are given to suppress the immune because the immune system is not hyperactive,
Have
right?
you seen any positive results from, do you have any of your patients or clients that have tried immunosuppressants to help with their hair loss
Typically, no, because
hmm
anybody that's a trichologist is looking for more of a holistic um, type of
approach?
approach. But if
Hmm
they're on like if they're thyroid and they have them on immunosuppressants, it's going to it may exacerbate the hair loss.
hmm
Everybody's different, and then there's
Yeah.
different levels to it. So you and I, so they may have them on a certain dosage, and everything's doing well, and then if the body shifts and they change the dosage, all of a sudden now we may start to see hair loss. So it's one of those things that I again just be educated. Um, and for some people, they'll literally die, and I understand they die to get their hair back. They'll do anything to get their hair back, but again, you have to decide that's a cost that you want to pay, and just
Yeah.
ask a lot of questions. Do your research and ask a lot of questions, and make sure that if your body is showing a sign that's or you're getting a symptom, that you address it right away.
Yeah. So we have answered the questions from our members. I see two questions here in the chat. We are about to wrap up. So if you have any questions that you want to ask Niki directly, go ahead and put them in the comment box on Facebook, or if you're watching from YouTube, go ahead and put that in the chat, and hopefully we'll get to see them before we wrap up. So I'm going to just ask these two questions to give you a chance to ask any specific questions that we haven't covered. Now is your chance, girl. All right. So, um, my hair is thinning on the top. I'm 33 and a mom of 7, wondering if it's a hormonal issue.
Good question.
That same person also says, my diet is unstable. I believe that plays a major role as well. So she's getting that, like we talked about, that thinning at the top, but she's wondering if it's hormonal or if it is, in fact, maybe her diet because it's unstable.
So without seeing it, it could be hormonal. Like she's had 7 babies. You know, I take all hats that I have off to you, just so you want to know. That's amazing to have 7 babies. Yeah. So I mean, it could be hormonal. It
Hmm
could be um, without seeing it and without seeing the kind of symptoms that she's experiencing. It's hard, and it's thinning on every other month. There's another spot.
Oh, you could see it. I didn't know you could see the questions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, so then it's not. It's maybe more than one type of hair loss, because now you're saying there are spots. That's one type of
Yeah.
hair loss. And then it's in the center. That could be another type of hair loss. So
Okay.
I can't. I can't say it could be. It could be hormonal. That it could be. Diet, of course, plays a huge role in hair loss as well.
Okay, so what are your service fees? If you don't feel comfortable sharing that online, maybe you can give us a ballpark of, if somebody wanted to see a dermatologist or a trichologist, what is the range in fees for a consultation or treatments?
So for the dermatologist, I'm not sure. But what I do before I see anybody in my space, I do a free discovery session. And in the free discovery session, based on the questions that you answer, I know if you can move forward with a consultation. And so that's the first thing, because what everybody needs is different. Some decide to do a hair and scalp analysis first because they want to see what's going on before some want the whole answers. So it depends on what you need. But the first thing I do is I get some information for you, because it's important to know if I can help you. There's some cases that I cannot help. There's some cases that are very, very sensitive. And to me, your health and your life is worth more than your hair, and I won't touch. I
Mm-hmm.
had one lady that's on dialysis. My mom is on dialysis, so I know what it's like. And so with her, I just gave her some suggestions and recommendations, because when you're on dialysis, your kidneys no longer function. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't take the medicines that other people take. You can't do some of the things. You can't have the same amount of liquids. So,
Mm-hmm.
so based on that, that's a very good question. So I would say, book a. I'm going to actually open up some space, once you get off of here, that you can book a free call, so I can learn more about what's going on with you, and then we can see how I can work with you best.
Oh, that's awesome. So you can get how long is the call?
Calls 15 minutes.
Okay, so you get a complimentary 15-minute call. I'm going to put that link in the description, but I'm also going to put it on the screen in a couple minutes. So just hang on for that information. Um, so did you say a fee? I don't remember you giving an average
So,
cost of
so,
a
so,
visit,
so your
of just a typical visit, so people know what to prepare themselves for.
consultation fee for me is 4.95.
Okay,
Your hair and scalp analysis is 150. If
okay.
you do a hair and scalp analysis and decide to go into a consultation, I will take within 3 months. I will remove deduct the price of the hair and scalp.
I'm so glad you brought that up because that was one of my, I almost got off this call without asking you about the technology, and you just
Oh,
and you just brought it up. So thank you for just saying that. So um we talk about AI and business, but just overall since the pandemic, I feel like we have a heightened sense of using technology in our business. We are doing less going into physical locations. We're doing virtual meetings. We're doing Zooms. We're, doing things. So, can you tell us how technology is playing a role in your business? I mean, talk about how you're using it for your consultations, and also I want to hear about the fancy equipment that you're using.
so it has allowed us to allow me to reach people worldwide. I even collaborated with one of my colleagues, a woman in Africa. So
Wow.
so we're able to reach and help people even though they can't see us one on one. So Australia and Africa, California, some people down south. So I'm able to see people that can't physically make it to me and still get them results. So that has helped a lot. Um, so with the booking and everything else. And then also I make recommendations for things and tools that they can use, DIY at home themselves. I mean, this is just made booking, made being access to clients, having access to clients a lot easier and simpler once you kind of set it and forget it. Because right now, once I get off of this, I'm going to open up some space for people to make 15-minute calls with me. Just give me a second, y'all. I'm doing a lot.
Okay.
It allows me to be able to reach more people and be able to just help as many people as possible.
And also, so what about the machines that you use?
So
Do you
machine
have like
learning.
a scope? I see some fancy UV lights on Instagram and TikTok where they're putting this clear thing with a UV light, and they're doing treatments at the sink. And so, what are some of the things that they
So
can expect?
I do use an aquatic mister. An aquatic mister is allows me to moderate temperature, light therapy, as well as moisture when working with the hair. So depending on the type of hair loss that you have, I either have a ultraviolet light of blue or red, depending on what I'm looking for. I do also have a laser machine that you can sit under. Um, Bioscan in the consultation. I do a bioscan where you place your hand on the cradle and it reads your skin's electrical or galvanic response that tells us the kind of deficiencies that you may have. So it identifies vitamins and minerals that you can use. Um, I do oxygen therapy. I do mesotherapy. So
And the little scope.
and I do have a microscope that I'd be able to look at. And so one of the things I look at your scalp microscopically, and you get those pictures from me when you do a consult. So it's more than a. So I want to say is consultation that you're accustomed to getting from a hairstylist. This is times 100. So
Hmm.
we're dealing more than just hair and scalp, but we're dealing with all these other things to be able to identify what's going on.
Yeah. And I got just a last few questions here. What about chebe and rice water?
So chebe is another herb that's used. I've only used it in one or two products. I've never used it by itself. Um, I think anything that encourages circulation, that is anti-inflammatory, antifungal, can have a positive effect on the hair and the scalp. Again, it just depends on the concentration in the product. I think like anything else, somebody finds it, and um, then everybody wants to put it in their product.
Hmm.
But I think it plays a role. As far as I have not used it enough to know if it works, but I believe based on the research and what it actually does, that it can be a product or ingredient that works well with hair growth and hair loss.
Okay, I have one question.
Mhm.
So for many years, I've been saying, and I want to stand corrected if this is not true. I've been saying healthy hair starts with a healthy scalp, but and I heard you say about creating the environment and the scalp and everything like that. Is that true, or is that? I feel like I just want to validate if this is in fact,
Sure.
is this true? Does healthy hair start with a healthy scalp?
So healthy hair starts from within, but
Okay,
it also a healthy scalp will breed the environment for hair to grow and thrive. So people that have things like seborrheic dermatitis or any kind of scalp malady may notice that they have issues with
thinning.
hair growth, right?
Hmm.
So I agree, definitely a healthy scalp creates the environment for healthy hair, and that's one of
Okay.
the things that we do in our treatments is that we do scalp exfoliation, scalp detoxifications, or we call it scalp rejuvenation therapy, because we want to maintain that environment of the scalp so that the hair can actually grow.
Because I don't know if you've been seeing this a lot lately. I mean, I've definitely tapped in on my timeline with TikTok and Instagram, hair detox, scalp scrubs, and things of that nature. That's a big thing now. Hair spas and this thing. Is that scalp scrub causing more harm than good? Is it too abrasive? Like what is the like I want to know, is there an
So,
ideal environment and how can we get it? Are the scrubs good or no?
so here's the thing, right? The scalp is an extension of the skin. And so there are different types of scrubs, just like your skin. You may have one that's a little more sensitive, where the actual ingredient is a finer material, right? So it depends on what it's made of. Some scrubs have a lot of emollients in it, and so if you have an oily scalp or a very hot, like a seborrheic dermatitis, it can exasperate it. So understanding ingredients and knowing the type, because some pull and some deposit, and depending on the
Some pull. So they are detoxifying,
some pull,
purifying oils.
and you can over pull,
Okay. Oh,
right? And
okay.
so you can over pull, and then and in over pulling, um, you can create an environment for your sebaceous glands to overproduce oils.
Mm.
So it's a lot of fine lines to it because it's a lot out there. But at the end of the day, if you do use a scrub on the scalp, that should not happen every week. Just like
Just
if
like with the skin. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
If you decide to buy one, test it on a small portion of your scalp, just like you test it on your face
Hmm.
and see how you react to it. If you don't react well to it, at least you only tried it on one side of the skin versus doing the entire scalp, and then now you either on fire, you're itching, you can't suppress the itching. So test it. Look at the ingredients. A lot of times it's hard to figure it out because if you're not a product manufacturer or you're not in the study of ingredients, you won't know for sure. But if it's something you want to get, test it or go with the advice of a professional
Now
before
the
you.
scalp detox, because this is fresh on my mind because I've literally just been watching videos of people doing this scraping thing too with this tool and they're just scraping off, you know, anyway. But I want to know, is that a marketing tactic or are there products, because you're saying they're purifying oils. They're oils that do pull. So
Cool.
it is possible to detox your scalp. And there are
Absolutely.
chemical peels also for the scalp. It's possible to remove that epidermis layer, that top layer, rejuvenate some skin. I just want to make sure that I'm touching on that topic because I'm tapped into what's going on right now with this hair spa detoxing the scalp. Like I just want to know if it's real or if it's marketing, and is there a product that actually does that?
So here's the thing, right?
It's being
It,
added
it's
onto
part,
service
part of
menus.
it's part of what I do. But here's the thing: first things first is to analyze the scalp.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people, just like anything else, you may need a series of 3 or 4 consecutively to remove the buildup. So the microscopic analysis is the first part to see how much we all have buildup. I don't care how, if you shampooed this morning, we all have buildup on our scalp, on our skin, right? So it's a thing. And because a lot of us don't shampoo often, a lot of us, our diets are high in fat and processed foods, it it deposits on the scalp. So it is a thing. That's part of what we do in our treatments, be able to
Yeah.
cleanse and detoxify the scalp. The issue is you've
Mm-hmm.
got to know the products that you're using. You've got to know if that's not pre-softened enough before you use a tool, you could cause damage.
Yeah.
If that person's going through a certain scalp malady, you can actually exacerbate that scalp malady.
Yeah.
So it's something that it's just like anything else. Co-washing came on board and everybody started to co-wash.
Yeah.
People started losing hair from co-washing. So that's another subject for another day. So understanding that there's a place for things and everything
It
serves
all
a purpose.
starts with a proper scalp analysis, blood work, and seeing a professional at the
Pretty
end
much,
of the day.
pretty
But
much.
what I like the distinction that you made is that because it's not even if you're a stylist watching this, it's not a matter of just adding something to your menu because it's trending. You have to be responsible enough to say, okay, if I'm offering a detox or a scrub, I'm going to thoroughly do an analysis to see if this is for you, and just be in integrity to say, I know this is what you want, but today is not a good day. Or maybe have different versions of it, a mild detox, or this
Absolutely.
detox, or that
Yeah.
detox, or something like that.
Yeah. So the ingredients make a difference, right? It's the ingredients definitely make a difference. So, but it's
Mhm.
something that we all need it. Everybody needs one. If I was to
Mhm.
do I just shampooed my hair this morning. If I was to do a microscopic analysis of my scalp, I'd be like, "Ooh, it's time, girl. We
Yeah.
all need it." Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, girlies, we are going to be doing an actual in-person event this Saturday, February 3rd from 2:30 to 4 o'clock, right here on Long Island in Uniondale, Long Island. Currently, the event is sold out. I tried to tell you guys about it as soon as I found out. The event is sold out. But I left a link in the description for your name to be added to the wait list. So if you're in the New York area, if you're in Nassau County, and you're interested in getting a deeper dive into this topic of hair loss, or you just want to meet me and Niki in person,
Yeah.
um, come check us out this Saturday, February 3rd, from 2:30 to 4 o'clock. Also, Niki is available. She's taking appointments, and for the girlies in the Girl Activate audience and community, she's offering complimentary consultation. So I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the screen. Tell us a little bit more about this experience.
So the discovery sessions are for clients that are going through any kind of hair loss, um, or any kind of scalp malady. So I ask a few questions to kind of see where you fit and if you're a fit for me and how I can help you best. So we spend about 15 minutes learning more about what you're going through. I don't believe in working with somebody from the blind. I need to know more about you to know how I can best serve you. And if you're a fit, if you're a fit for what I offer. So that 15 minutes gets me a chance to learn a little bit more about you and know how I can work with you best. Yeah.
Okay, awesome, awesome, awesome. And again, give her a few minutes. She's going to open up her schedule to accommodate anybody who is clicking on that link right now.
Right now, when I
Um,
have something, just give me like after we get off, give me like 5 minutes, guys. Not even five. After 10 hours, because I have
but
to
the
work.
link is going to be there. Take a screenshot of this right now, so that you can have an opportunity to talk to a hair loss expert and a trichologist. As for me, I'm just going to share a little bit about what's going on. So I myself am offering a free gift to you. It is a free checklist. 10 tips to communicating your personal brand effectively online. It's a social media checklist. So if you want to do a self audit to see if you're doing this social media thing correctly, you can go ahead and go to my website, stacyciceron.com, and you can put your name and your email address, and the checklist will be sent right to your inbox. This checklist is a live document. That means that if anything changes in social media land, or I want to make some adaptations, I do it because it's a live document. For instance, there are technologies happening with AI. If something changes, I definitely add it on. So go over and head to stacyciceron.com, and it's right on the homepage. Okay. So, usually at the end of each podcast, I'm just finding out, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or what is your ultimate goal as a trichologist, and any inspiring words that you want to leave with our girlies?
So, the goal right now is to spread the word to more beauty professionals, to have the every hairstylist have a basic understanding of hair loss, so that they know how to assist their clients or direct their clients to the help that they need to get. So that's the main goal for me. And also to just empower the women that are experiencing hair loss. I do women and children. I've had as young as 8 years old with hair loss. So women and children that are going through hair loss, to just empower them, to give them the answers that they're looking for, and to help them recover from hair loss. So those are the two main things that I want to see more of. I want more of us to have a better understanding, so we can really be the answer to our clients' prayers, for sure, when it comes to hair loss.
And
So
any
that's it.
final words you'd like to leave with the girlies?
For sure. I gave you a link for a free ebook on hair growth tips. But I also want to tell you this: if there's anything that doesn't seem right, doesn't feel right when it comes to your body, when it comes to your health, don't hesitate. Don't wait. A lot of times we wait, and waiting can cause us to lose more hair. So pay attention to your body. Take care of yourself. I remember Joyce Meyer saying um, that we spend our um, oh God, Lord, it's coming to me. But in how we take care of ourselves today determines how we live tomorrow. And whether it's our body, it's true for our body, it's true for our spiritual, it's true for our mental, and it's true for our hair. So the care that we take care of ourselves today determines on how we live, how our hair thrives, how we thrive going forward.
Thank you so much for that, Niki. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for pouring into
I love it.
our
Thank you
Girl
so much.
Activate community. Thank you for being a resident expert
All
in
the
our
time.
Facebook group. You're the first person I call when this topic comes up, because I know that you operate on a level of excellence. I know you operate with integrity, and I'm very protective over the girlies in my community. You know that. I don't just say things just to say it. I got to cross check and make sure that
Absolutely.
everything coming
Absolutely.
through is 100%. So I thank you for being that person that I can go to do that. So thank you so much.
Thank you for
And
having me.
girlies, thank you. This is the end of another amazing episode filled with lots of value, lots of gems. We're talking about just showing up as a personal brand, showing up as a business. And if hair loss has been getting in your way, I just hope and pray that this episode gave you enough fuel to be an advocate for yourself, and just step up and have the courage to take those first steps to get that out of the way. Live your best life, take your business to the next level, take your life to the next level. That is my greatest desire for you. So you guys, thank you so much for watching, and this replay will be available soon. Give Niki a couple of minutes to get those
I'm
appointments
doing it right
open.
now. I'm getting it together.
And we'll see you soon. Ciao.
Thank you guys.